Okay, so now we don't have a whole lot of parts left, but we have to assemble these plates. If you look, you'll find one says top, and that not only tells you that this has to go to the top, but it also tells you that it is the top. There's a little cutout on both plates. They have to be oriented together so that everything is good. You've got your 1¼ inch pin there, and this is all very straightforward. You take your bolt, you put it through this hole, you put your spacer plate on, and you put it through there. Washer, nut, and the same up on this one. Bolt, spacer, washer, nut, and secure them. And that assembly is done. Alright, before we put the bending arms on, there's another piece that you're going to find in your bag of hardware, and it's going to be this piece. And what this is another anti-spring back device. This locks the die so that you can actually remove the spring back bar and retract the arms so that you can put the drive pin in another hole. What you're going to do is you're going to have to determine it's one of these 3 holes, which hole it'll go in. Now the die that we're going to use, I know, is going to use this first hole. There's a flat on it, and there's a roll pin and a set screw. When you get it, it'll be set in like that. So just loosen up that set screw, take it off, put this in, and you can't orient it in properly unless you put this drive pin up like that. The drive pin has to go and mate up with that hole, and the flat has to work with the set screw. And now, just for now, we're just going to set it like this, a little high. There's a roll pin on the bottom that's going to limit how far down it can drop. So once we put that in, we'll set that up as soon as we get the die in. We're going to put the bending arms on. Now we put these together, and we're going to slide them in between the main frame. Drop this in, and now we're good. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in a die. Okay, so we've installed this, we've installed our bending arms. Now we're going to put the die in. Today I'm going to use a 1/2 inch die because it's easier for me to pick up. But just so that you know, this bender can run any number of dies from really, really small like this 1/2 inch up to this 2-inch monster here. We've got a 2-inch die here, and this is also usable in this machine. This is the die we'd use to bend our 2-inch 250 wall tubing. Same principle. These holes are in a little different spot, but that's what the holes on the main frame are for. They'll all line up so that you can align these dies, whatever die you choose to use. But for today, we're going to use the little one. So we take our die, and again, now I'm standing what I consider to be behind the machine. We're just going to lift up our die pin, and we're going to put it in and lock it down. Now, the round portion of the die is facing me, and this arm is facing forward. This is important, the way you orient this. So we'll move this out a little bit, and we have a number of other pins. We have some smaller pins, a long one and a short one. The long one is going to go, and it's going to go through the hole on the bending arm that will go through the corresponding hole on the die. That prevents the die from moving except when it's being operated. This smaller pin is used here to clamp the tube. The tube will come through there. Now each die has its own little horseshoe and corresponding pin. This bolt is used to snug up against the tubing, and that'll help pull it around, keep the tubing from moving. The last piece that we're going to install will be the follow bar, and again this uses a big pin. On the top of the follow bar it will tell you top, and it'll tell you what hole to use. In this case it says hole 2. As long as you have this oriented with the writing on the top where it says top, you can't go wrong. So you'll put that in and you'll drop your pin in. Now the machine is completely set up and ready to go. The only final thing we have to do is two items. I'm going to take this out so that you can see what's going on. One is a pointer, and a pointer is nothing more than a piece of 3/32 welding rod. They supply you with a little piece, so you just bend it to shape, and that will go here. There's a little bolt with a washer, and you can just affix that to the die itself. This is good because you can't really go wrong if you damage it, if you break it, if you lose it. It's just a piece of welding rod, so that's not really anything special. And finally, the last thing that we're going to install will be the degree wheel. Now you remember I showed you on the bottom the threaded pin that sticks down. Got a large washer and a large nut, and we'll just affix that to the machine. Now you don't want to tighten this down with a wrench, you're just going to tighten this finger tight. The idea being that you can move the degree wheel to set 0 on whatever tubing you're using. If you use different tubing, obviously the 0 mark is going to be in a different spot. And also you can set the tubing in, and when you lock it down you can 0 the pointer so you start at 0. This makes it easier to figure out your bends. Once you've determined what your spring back is, that's another video. But now the bender is ready, it's ready to go. You'd place your tubing in, you'd lock it down with the little horseshoe clamp, and you have a bender.